What if I told you that one of the most iconic party songs of all-time celebration was inspired by a verse from the Quran? Or that Kool and the Gang almost ended up with a name so close to James Brown's group that it could have sparked a full-blown rivalry? This is a wild, unexpected rise of a band that defined the sound of celebration, yet came from the raw grit of Jersey City's gang life. Before the hits, before the funk,
or worrying about making the money.
Before the world tours, Kool and the Gang was just a bunch of jazz-obsessed teenagers hustling their way into clubs they were too young to legally enter. No lead vocalist, no label deals, just brass, bass, and raw determination.
What was left, right? George Brown and myself. Yeah. We love Charles Smith, Ricky West, Clifford Adams.
But what transformed them from local players into global legends? How did a spontaneous one-take jam become Jungle Boogie? Why did they nearly quit right before they struck gold?
It was time for me to make my exit. It had reached a height where that type of tension had gotten too much.
In this video, we're uncovering the secrets behind their sound, the pain behind their fame, and the legacy that still gets crowds dancing 60 years later. This isn't just a story about music. It's about survival, reinvention, and the rhythm that never dies. Let's dive into the untold story of Kool and the Gang. Come on! Our story begins with two brothers, Robert and Ronald Bell, raised in a house where jazz wasn't just music, it was religion. Their father, Bobby Bell, was a professional boxer with a deep love for legends like Miles Davis and Dave Brubeck. Music wasn't a hobby, it was a calling. In the early 1960s, the Bell family moved from Ohio to Jersey City. The shift wasn't easy. Life was turbulent, money was tight, and like many teens in their neighborhood, the brothers got involved with a gang.
And I didn't think that they were had my back anymore.
But here's the twist: music saved them. Literally. By their early teens, the Bell brothers had found a tribe of equally obsessed friends. Trumpeter Robert Mickens, drummer George Brown, saxophonist Dennis Thomas, keyboardist Ricky Westfield, and guitarist Charles Smith.
I grew up in the same neighborhood in Jersey City, New Jersey, and somehow we found each other, because some of us were uptown Jersey and some of us were downtown Jersey.
Most of them were still learning their instruments, but their chemistry was undeniable. They started out as the Jazzbirds, covering bossa nova, Motown, and hardcore jazz. By 1964, they were playing in New York's underground clubs, sharing the stage with Pharoah Sanders and even John Coltrane. Yes, that John Coltrane.
Cleveland, come on! Get down on it! Get down on it!
These weren't your average kids in a garage band. They were teenagers out playing grown men, soaking up every sound and cooking up a style the world hadn't heard yet. Every legendary band has its turning point, and for Kool and the Gang, it all started with a name. By the late 60s, the group was grinding through the New York and Jersey club scenes under different names, including the Jazzy Acts and the Soul Town Band. But none of those names stuck. Then came the spark, Robert Bell's street nickname Kool.
Suscitate, bring it back. That was it.
Pair that with the Gang, and suddenly they had a name that demanded attention and respect. But here's a fun fact. They first tried Kool and the Flames until they realized it sounded way too close to James Brown's group, the Famous Flames. So, to avoid confusion and possibly confrontation, they switched it to Kool and the Gang. And just like that, a brand was born. Their self-titled debut dropped in 1969, mostly instrumental, All Groove. But the real breakout moment came in 1973 with Wild and Peaceful. That album gave the world funky stuff, Hollywood swinging, and the unstoppable Jungle Boogie. They hit the charts with no lead singer. Just raw, horn-driven funk, and it worked. Jungle Boogie wasn't just a hit, it became a cultural monument, later immortalized in Pulp Fiction and sampled by artists like Madonna. Kool and the Gang had officially arrived. By the end of the 70s, Kool and the Gang was already a force, but they were missing one thing, a voice to match their sound. That's when James J.T. Taylor walked in. At the time, the band was unsure about adding a lead singer. After all, they just scored massive hits without one. But their manager insisted on pointing to Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, and the growing power of vocals in funk and disco. The first person they auditioned, James Taylor, and it was lightning in a bottle. No second choice needed. Now armed with a voice that could melt hearts and ignite dance floors, the band dropped Ladies' Night in 1979, and it exploded. The title track in Too Hot stormed the charts. And then came Celebrate. In 1980, featuring the ultimate party anthem, Celebration. Here's the twist. Ronald Bell said the inspiration for Celebration came while reading the Quran, a verse about angels celebrating creation. That divine spark turned into a universal hit. From Studio 54 to wedding dance floors to championship locker rooms, Celebration became bigger than the band itself. It wasn't just a song. It was a ritual. With J.T. Taylor, Kool and the Gang leveled up. Their sound evolved, but their groove, stronger than ever. Success didn't come without scars. As Kool and the Gang dominated the 80s with hits like Joanna, Fresh, and Cherish, the pressure behind the scenes grew. The emotional heart of the band James J.T. Taylor left in 1987. Officially, it was mutual. Unofficially, there was tension. Some members felt he was getting too much credit. J.T. later said, "It was like arguing with your brothers. They told me I was never really part of the group." While Taylor pursued solo success, the band tried to keep the momentum. But without his voice, something was missing. Albums like Sweat and Unite struggled to connect with fans. Eventually, the pressure from loyal audiences brought Taylor back in 1995 for a global tour and the album State of Affairs. But time doesn't wait. Between 2006 and 2023, the band lost multiple founding members: guitarist Charles Smith, trumpeter Robert Mickens, trombonist Clifford Adams, drummer George Brown, saxophonist Dennis Thomas, and Ronald Bell, one of the band's core architects. Still, Kool and the Gang never stopped. In 2023, they dropped their 34th album, People Just Wanna Have Fun, a vibrant tribute featuring some of the final recordings of Ronald and Dennis. The groove lives on because legends never retire. They echo, from jazz clubs to global arenas, from gang life to Grammy nominations. Kool and the Gang story is more than music. It's a masterclass in resilience, reinvention, and rhythm. They weren't just a band. They were a soundtrack to generations, a symbol of how art can lift you out of darkness, a beat that never stopped even when the lights dimmed and the stages cleared. Whether it was jungle boogie shaking up the funk scene, or Celebration echoing through history at weddings, championships, and national events, Kool and the Gang didn't just make hits. They made moments. And their legacy, it's still unfolding. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of a time when music felt like magic, do us a favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the legends who shaped our world. Drop a comment below. What's your favorite Kool and the Gang memory or track? Let's celebrate their legacy together. Because as long as people are dancing, as long as there's joy to be shared, Kool and the Gang will always have a place in the soundtrack of our lives.